G'day guys, today I am going to talk a little bit about what it's like living in a German apartment. I'm not going to start with a hook or something like that. If you guys have found this video, it's for a reason. You're either interested in life in Germany. I don't really have a niche. It's been a problem for me. I do a lot of things. I've reinvented myself a lot of times, and that doesn't work so well with the algorithm. But I'm an Australian living in Germany, and I've been here for nearly 13 years now. And living in a German apartment, it's a thing. So let me take it back. The first time I got a German apartment, it was by the way, apologies, there's no beard. I had to shave for a shoot, and in the words of my Polish friend, I look like a baby's ass. I'm just hoping that my relationship will survive me shaving my beard. I'm 46. I hope it makes me look a little younger. I don't know. Anyway, just waiting for it to grow back. Side thread there. Back on the apartments. Where do I begin? Getting an apartment in Germany is very competitive, and there's a number of reasons for that. Basically, there's a lot of laws that protect tenants. So once a landlord puts you in an apartment, it's very hard to kick you out, which is a good thing for the tenants, but it means it's very hard to get an apartment in Germany. When I first got an apartment in Germany, it was a rude awakening. I had no idea what was going on. I was in an old relationship, so my ex was able to handle the kind of complexity of it, but I still had to deal with a contract. When I went to do the handover of the new apartment, the tenant was there, and he basically said to me, "Give me 500 euros or I'm taking the kitchen." As an Australian, I was like, what are you talking about? You're taking the kitchen. So in Germany, you can essentially do whatever you want to apartments as long as you leave them how you found them. You can rip out kitchens, put new ones in. It kind of depends on the contract. If in the contract it states the kitchen is yours, you can do whatever you want to it. I'm not used to this. In Australia, if you hang a picture in the wall, you can be in big strife for just leaving a mark in the wall. You'll lose your bond. Which reminds me, when I was a student flat sharing, we had in Melbourne, we had this tiny apartment, and every week, like 12 blokes would end up crashing there after a party. Most of these guys were still living at home, so me and my mate were the only blokes who had an apartment, and all these dudes would end up crashing at our place, even though it was like, maybe 25 square meters. I'm going to get to square meters later because Germans love talking about square meters. In that old apartment, what I remember is when we finally moved out and tried to clean the place up, the real estate agent came round. As I was talking to him, I could see toothpaste running down the wall behind him where we tried to fill in a hole in the wall with toothpaste. So I got one eye on the toothpaste, one eye on him. I don't know how we managed to get the bond back on that place, but we did. Anyway, back to Germany. First apartment, the bloke says, "I'm taking the kitchen if you don't give me 500 euros. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand your German." And he said, "Also, if you don't give me 500 euros, I'm taking the floor." I was like, "What are you talking about? You're taking the floor." Essentially, he'd put his own kitchen in. He'd put new vinyl flooring. There'd been some kind of relationship breakup, so he had to get out fast. And I realized he didn't want to do the work to take the kitchen and the floor, so he was just trying to get whatever money he could. Somehow I managed to call his bluff because I realized he didn't want to do the work. So I said, "I'll give you 200. And he agreed. So for 200 euros, I got to keep the kitchen and the floor. I was in that apartment a few years. Now, the thing about German apartments is it's high density living. So they're all, sort of 5 stories or more, but it's high density living. So you're very close to your neighbors. You get to know your neighbors very well. After that apartment, I moved into a smaller place on my own. And I had a temporary contract there while someone was away. They call it a Zwischenmieter here. It was like a 6-month thing. There was nothing formal. I was basically just minding someone's flat. In that place, there was a neighbor next to me, and every night, all he did was watch 2.5 Men. So that opening theme song to 2.5 Men is forever in my dreams. All I heard was that men, 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 men. I think that's something like that. I still dream about it to this day. That's all he did every night was watch 2.5 Men. So you get to know your neighbours' habits. You get to know them pretty closer than you might want to. In that place, I was trying to get a formal contract to take it. And I got to know my neighbours and they recommended me to the landlord. But as a freelance artist, as an Australian, as a single guy at the time, I had no chance. Absolutely no chance. Germans with stable jobs struggle to get apartments. So I got my neighbours to recommend me, but I didn't know, to be honest about being a freelance artist. So I did the old call back to my former life as an architect because I thought being an architect would offer a bit more security than saying I was a freelance artist, even though I wasn't working in architecture. And I got rejected. And the neighbours who had recommended me were really upset because I was going to take some of their furniture from them and stuff. They were moving out. And they demanded that the agent tell them why I was rejected. And he said it was because I was an architect. And I was like, geez, I didn't want to tell him I was an artist. I told him I was an architect. I got rejected. The reason being they were building an extra floor on top. And he said he didn't want an architect kind of prying into what was going on. I didn't give a shit about what they were doing on top. I did when they started building, and it was noise all day, every day. So yeah, that's why I got rejected from that place. And eventually got this place with my family, and have been in this place a long time. And we actually have a really good landlord. Another thing, German apartments. Germans are, what do we say, very cautious, often private people, very much into security. This doesn't explain why everybody's name is on the front door, on the mailbox. So your name's on the mailbox, and that's how you get your post delivered. So anybody can walk past and, see that I live here. It doesn't feel very secure. So instead of delivering to a number, packages are delivered by name. My family in Australia and New Zealand have given up on sending packages to Germany. They continuously get rejected. They get sent back in the post. They've just given up. They've said, we're not trying anymore. I had a very strange incident at Christmas where a delivery woman rocked up with a package, and she said I owed her 18 euros for the package from Australia. My sister, it was a gift from my sister. She'd already paid some kind of fee at the other end. This delivery woman wanted the fee on the spot, and I said, what happens if I send you away? And she said she'd take the package somewhere else, like at a kiosk. In the past, when they've done that, sometimes it's ended up like 10 kilometers away, and I've had to go, to another state basically to get the package. So I was like, okay, can I just pay you by card? And she said, no, I only take cash, which is another whole German thing, taking cash only. But she had a receipt machine on her belt. So I go inside. I can only find a 20 euro note. I come out. I give her the 20 euros. She goes, I got no change. I said, you know what? It's Christmas. Here's the 2 euro tip. I said, how do I know this isn't a scam? But then she pulled out the little cash receipt machine off her belt and she gave me a receipt. So it was legitimate. It's some kind of tax which I don't fully understand. I think perhaps the value on the package was too much. Like I think my sister might have maybe should have written less value. We're honest people. That was a bit strange. So packages can be a thing. The other thing is your neighbours often take your package for you, which I have a few issues with. Like I believe in, helping out your neighbours and we all look after each other. And that's fantastic if it saves someone having to, go 10 kilometres on their bike to get the package from the kiosk. Happy to do that for the neighbours. But I've had incidents. I had an incident. What's the word? Incident. I had an incident where a neighbour took a package and then went on holiday for 3 weeks. I can't remember what the package was, but it was lucky it wasn't some kind of medication because they took the package and pissed off to Mallorca. So I remember needing the thing and I had to wait 3 weeks till they came back. The other thing is sometimes neighbours knock on your door at like 10 or 11 at night to get a package. Or if you're making videos like this, guaranteed doorbell rings in the middle of a video, either the DHL dude or the neighbour. I've also seen package delivery dudes sort of handle packages like their footballs, sort of kicking them round. If there's something fragile, you're in trouble. That's the deal with packages. What have I covered here? I've covered the taking the kitchen, the floor, the packages, saying I was an architect, how competitive it is, the noise from neighbours. Just on the noise thing, we had a family beneath us and the little ones, their kids, screamed for 5 years straight. My fiance and I still have a little bit of trauma. These kids, we're very patient people, and our neighbours are very lucky with how patient we were through that time. So when they left, I was pretty relieved, and some new neighbours moved in. And I said, I've got to be honest, it's been a bit rough with the old neighbours. So we're pretty relieved you guys are here. And I said to the bloke, what do you do? And he said, I'm a techno DJ. I must say I enjoy listening to his sets. It's a nice, steady, like electro techno. I do prefer that than the screaming kids. What else can I say about German apartments? I do like this sense of community. In Australia, houses are far apart. You know your neighbours, but it's not such tight living. But I do think you get to a point where you get a bit tired of the shared walls and, a garden would be nice. We do have a communal garden here, which is cool. What else can I talk about? I would love questions from you guys because I've been here 13 years, and if there's someone who's new to Germany, if there's any way I can help, because I've been through a lot of things, learning by doing. Every day this place continues to surprise me. Actually, back on that other small apartment, when I said I was an architect and got rejected and I was struggling to find another one, I was a single father at the time and I had to kind of hit the button on perhaps social housing because I just couldn't get anywhere. And I came here to be a father, and there was no way I was going home, but I couldn't get a place. And I went to apply for one of these sort of social housing vouchers, and that was my last resort. And they rejected me. They gave me the rejection. And at that point, I wasn't sure how I was going to sustain or build a life here because I just couldn't get anywhere. But I was lucky enough to get another Zvision meter, another temporary one, before I moved in here with my fiance. It's pretty crazy how we got this place too, because I was working with an Australian bloke in an architect's office when I first came here. And I came to a party here that he was having at this apartment. And after the party, that's the night I met my now fiance in a club. Cut a long story short, when I was coming to this apartment to the party, if somebody said to me, "You will live in this apartment with the woman you meet tonight in the club," I would have been like, "You're joking. You're absolutely joking." When my Aussie mate went back to Australia, that's how we ended up getting this apartment. And my fiance, who I met that night, that's how we moved in. It's funny how life works like that. If I trace back all the steps of how I ended up living in Germany, it's pretty wild. There's a few key moments, and I think we can do this in many areas of life, these sliding door moments. But I often think about how I ended up in Germany. And one of the reasons I was thinking about the other day is the American band Bon Jovi. That may sound weird. What the heck is the connection between Bon Jovi and Germany? Well, when I was 7 or 8, my sister, this is in the 80s, showing my age, my sister was a massive Bon Jovi fan. She had a poster of Bon Jovi, and I used to throw darts at it. Nothing against Bon Jovi. It was more that brother-sister thing. Anyway, they came to Australia, and I got dragged along with my sister to wait outside their hotel. I'm like 7 or 8 years old. I go to this hotel, and there's 100 fans there looking up at this window that they're convinced is Bon Jovi's room. The curtains are closed. Mainly girls standing there. I am bored out of my mind. Nothing's happening. We're standing at the window for 2-3 hours. I just want to go home. Suddenly, one of the band members puts his hairy arm with a gold watch out the window between the curtains. These girls lost their absolute minds. The screaming was so loud. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what was going on as this quiet, shy kid. And then I had a revelation. I was like, I think I want to be in a band. So in my late teenage years, I became a drummer in bands. And the second band I was in, we were on a dance floor in Melbourne, decided to leave everything behind, our families, our friends, our jobs, our girlfriends, to move to London and have a crack at the big time. Couple of years in London doing shows, band falls apart. I meet my ex, who introduces me to Hamburg, and I end up here. So I can trace it perhaps all the way back to Bon Jovi. So every time I'm stressed trying to speak German, or I'm experiencing PTSD from a trip to the Amt, or I've got anxiety at the Lidl supermarket near us, I've got Bon Jovi to thank. Great band, by the way. Living on a Prayer, classic. But there are other moments. And one bigger moment I think of was actually in London. I think this is more pivotal to me ending up in Germany. And that is, we did a gig in the East, and after the gig, I had all my drums and all my equipment, and I was trying to get back to the West in London, where all the Aussies live. And the band squashed into a taxi, and I tried to get in the taxi, but I couldn't fit. And we were having some kind of creative tension, and they drove off without me. So I decided to go into Leicester Square and go to a club instead of going home. It was in Leicester Square where I met my ex, who was from Hamburg. So I just think if I had gotten that taxi, I do not know if I would be in Germany now. It's crazy to think of that, but you can think about that in so many things, those sliding door moments where if you made a different choice, what would have happened. Obviously, if I'd never been in a band, I never would have gone to London. So it depends how far you trace it back. We're getting a bit more philosophical here. So what else? Anything on apartments? Not that I can think of right now. I have very much enjoyed doing this video because I'm just kind of freeballing it. And whether anybody tunes in or not is another matter. I'm not into hooks. I'm not into trying to, manipulate to get you guys to watch this stuff. Like I say, I don't really have a specific niche, and that kind of bites me in the ass sometimes. But I've got a lot of experience here in Germany. I think I've got a pretty unique perspective too. So I would love to respond to any questions. If you're someone who's moving to Germany, new to Germany, or just interested in life in Germany in general, I'd love to offer what I can. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much.